Is it time for you to start modding your B9 S4 or S5? Not sure where to start? Well, if that's the case, then this is the video for you. I'm going to walk you through some stage recommendations, hardware and software, and we're going to go through that in this video starting. All right, so here we are under the hood of my Stage 3 S5. Now, the reason this is a good car to use as an example is because we can go through all the different hardware mods throughout the stages, all the way up to Stage 3. At this point, I want to take a minute to just note that most of these hardware mods can be run with a stock tune or Stage 1 or even Stage 2, but only a couple of them are going to be required to get to Stage 3. So my goal with this was to basically show you the most likely way to do your build-up. Again, these are just guidelines, not hard or fast rules.
There's more what you call guidelines than actual rules.
I also want to thank Integrated Engineering. We're working on a project with them for Stage 3 to try and get this daily driver into the low 10s, maybe even the 9s, if at all possible, with some of the parts that they've sent. And so we've got it outfitted with everything from their portfolio right now of products. All right, so the first mod that you can do for stock tune or Stage 1 is the air intake. Now, this can be applicable to all of the stages, but really most people do this one as their first one. It's a pretty easy install and it looks great, really dresses everything up under the hood. I like the one-piece design that IE has here. I've used a couple of other brands and they've got the two-piece design for this air scoop, and I just really prefer the way that IE's goes in. The fit and finish is great. They've got velocity stacking inside the intake to help smooth out the airflow and make sure it gets the most into the turbo as possible. The next mod, and this is actually the one I recommend you do first. This was the first mod I did on my car, and it made the biggest difference really out of everything, and that is the intercooler. Because you've got a hot V configuration where you have your turbo sitting right in the middle of the V6 portion of the engine, this makes a lot of heat. So it's prone to heat soak with this platform. Getting a aftermarket intercooler in here to help manage those temperatures is critical. I would say do this whether you're on a stock tune or Stage 1 and above. So the intercooler from Integrated Engineering is really cool. They really take advantage of the entire surface area of the intercooler to help keep those temperatures managed. Here's a couple of quick clips that they sent me that kind of show the production of the intercooler from their shops out there in Utah.
And this is how our intercooler cores typically come in from our casting supplier. This one's already been machined somewhat. You can see the ends there. But these come in basically as raw castings, which then they go into typically this guy, our 5-axis, and we machine them. So just to give you an idea of what these look like here, this is what the inside of your end tank looks like. So inside we cast these. Depending on the engine and the chassis, these are different for every application. So, but essentially what that does is the intercooler is so tall that when you start getting a lot of airflow, imagine there's a core in here. That airflow starts to come in through and it fills up this space, and then it just starts immediately getting pushed through the center of the core. Over time, during like a really good gear pull or something like a drag racing situation, that air is never really taking advantage of this top air part. And of course air's flowing through it, but not the really high pressure section. So these air fins, which you can see they go all the way through, will push air effectively as it comes in through from the turbocharger up through the whole thing. And the shape of these things, you can't just weld in some fins and an intercooler and call it a day. The shape of these is what stops it from getting turbulent. If we were just to get some like metal fins and weld them into the core, you're going to create a whole bunch of blockages and just basically build up a whole bunch of really high friction areas where that air is not going to flow. By doing, so these shapes are rather engineered. You'll see this one's inverted, these ones are pulled in. and where it curves up. Bottoms are a little edged. All of that changes, and also depends very much on the way that these engines flow. So this pushes that air up through the entire intercooler core, effectively forcing it to take advantage of that entire volume.
To round out stage one, you're going to get your ECU tuned. And Integrated Engineering has a great ECU tuning program. I've been working with them on the beta side for stage 3 and was fortunate enough to test some of their stage 1 and stage 2 beta stuff, even at the track. They've got great ethanol blend tunes, and I'm looking forward to what they're going to be able to accomplish with the platform when all is said and done. Their testing is rigorous. They've got a motor that they use to dyno test, as well as they've been taking a lot of information from data logs from me and others around the United States. They've also got a DA, or a atmospherical controlled dyno, which really helps them dial in the settings, keep everything within the safe zones for your engine, and make sure that they're delivering the maximum power. Stage 2 hardware is really going to start right here, and this is your downpipe. This is the Integrated Engineering downpipe. It's got a high flow cat involved. The fit and finish on this to the stock setup that I have is amazing. It goes in 100% without any issues. We'll have an install video coming up on that soon, and you'll be able to see how to put yours in. And then we'll also get you some sound clips in another video when we talk about the exhaust modifications. So stage 2 is really where we're accommodating the downpipe with the software. When you go and upgrade to stage 2 software, that's going to take that check engine light off of your dash. Now, it doesn't necessarily remove the code from the car and make sure it keeps it within EPA compliance, but it does get that pesky cell off your dash. Now, if you're interested in getting sort of a downpipe 101 video from me, let me know in the comments, because I have a lot to say about downpipes and their configurations, and whether you use a high flow cat or no cat at all, or one of the other brands that has maybe an inside J spacer that allows them to provide some mostly cell-free experiences on stage 1. So the advantage here is really in the sounds it produces, at least until you get up into stage 3, where you get a little bit more airflow. But the sounds from the downpipe really wake this engine up and make the exhaust note really good. As a side note, this isn't really part of a staged buildup, but just to go off of the downpipe, if you replace the mid pipes here with this new setup from IE, it's a pretty cool sound that you're gonna get. Now, I'll do an install video on this, as well as get you some sound clips and some drive-bys and all that kind of stuff in a future video coming up. As you can see, I don't have it installed quite yet, but I do have the VPS tuning mid-pipe delete, or basically the front resonator delete, which this aims to accomplish a similar thing. So we're gonna see if they have a huge difference in tone, what the install process is like. If you wanna see the video for that install, I'll put a link in the description. And this is gonna help wake up the sound of your car even more. All right, so one of the other mods that's not really stage specific, but is important, is this little thing right here. Now, this is a Fuelit ethanol sensor, and it connects to my phone. I've got a Bluetooth module in there, and what it allows me to do is when I'm running ethanol blends like I do with Integrated Engineering tunes, I can see what the ethanol content is in my fuel, and that allows me to make sure that we've got the right quality and the right tune on the vehicle. Yes, I have it zip tied to the front strut for now. We are working on a 3D printed bracket that'll hold it in place and look a little bit cleaner. The other thing that I should mention about this is that I've got an install video coming up for this one as well pretty soon. The benefits of the Integrated Engineering turbo inlet are that it looks great with the rest of the intake system. It has adaptable flanges that mount with your stock turbo or an aftermarket turbo, specifically the TTE 710 or the upcoming TTE 810, and it flows an enormous amount of air over the factory inlet. All right, so the main focus of the stage 3 build is right here, and this is your turbo. Going from your stock turbo to something aftermarket, either a hybrid like this Turbo Engineers TTE 710 or their new TTE 810 that's coming out, which offers an additional 100 horsepower over this one. This is going to be really the core of what you're going to be upgrading in order to get to that stage 3 power level. So your options are to go with a hybrid turbo like this, where they use a stock turbo frame and then modify the internals to make more power. Or you can go with a full frame build from another manufacturer where the entire turbo is a brand new setup. Either way, the next critical component is again your ECU tuning. Working with integrated engineering has taught me so much about the tuning process, not only just about the software, but also about the engine itself. So some of the things that we're looking at for the stage 3 build are also the fuel delivery system. A big part of that is this high pressure fuel pump right here. So that's going to be your next upgrade for stage 3. There may be some files released for the stock fuel pump, but everything we've run into indicates that the high pressure fuel pump is an issue in delivering enough fuel for this turbo and the setup, especially when managing the tunes for ethanol blends. So what that means for stage 3 is you should plan on a high pressure fuel pump upgrade. I've got one from APR coming that I'm going to be installing, and integrated engineering has one in development that we will likely put on here at a future date. The other thing you'll notice that's not necessarily stage related, but I've got this on here for heat management, is this turbo blanket from Funk Motorsports. I've got mine in the carbon fiber finish, and it helps manage the heat, keep it in the turbo where it belongs instead of all out in the engine bay, causing even more heat soak than we want to deal with. We'll have a video coming up specifically on the turbo blankets and the benefits they offer soon. So the final thing to talk about that I didn't really mention and isn't really under the hood is the staged TCU tunes that come along with stage 2, stage 1 kind of, and also stage 3. It's important to match the shifting points and the RPM levels up to whatever tune you're running, and most of the companies will do that. Integrated Engineering, again, has done a great job. We've been talking a lot about them in the video because we're working on a project with them, and frankly, they sent me these parts so that we would go over this and show you what they have to offer. I'm gonna go ahead and throw up a final graphic that just outlines the hardware paired with the software. Again, these are guidelines, not really hard and fast rules. This way you can kind of look at them. We'll put links in the description for all the parts and pieces you want to buy. Let me know if you found this helpful. If you did, I hope you can like, subscribe, hit the notification button so you know when we have more videos coming up. And man, any support you can lend us would be great.